recording it. Because I'm going to actually do things. The last time I went through this process was this morning. And in fact, Melissa, there will be an escrow opening soon. And so it was on my mind. Plus, what I wanted to do is to put together a series of what do you do if you have a listing appointment. Somebody calls you and says, hey, I'm interested in selling my home. They respond in some way. What do you do? Right now, typically what agents do is nothing, absolutely nothing, until this event occurs, and then they call me up and they're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do. They want me to talk tonight or tomorrow. I can't, what do I do? Right. So what I'm suggesting is that we prepare in advance, right? As the great humanitarian Machiavelli wrote, in time of peace, prepare for war. Well, anyhow, so we want to do this. Now, the most listings, many listings are either won or lost before the listing appointment. There's a lot of emphasis on, oh, there's a listing appointment. You gotta be, gotta have this slick presentation and have the magic words. Usually it's what we do before that determines whether we're going to get the listing. That's oftentimes the case. Now, which do I want to do first? First of all, I'll share my screen. How about that? All right. And then someplace, let me find the folder. I'm adding to this, I'm updating this. Those of you that are in my organization, I have a document library. Some of you, I've just shared the link. The listing consultation, I'm in the process of updating. This is some information that I put together regarding what we're talking about, a sample of the listing presentation. I used it today. Some other things that you could put in. We're going to sort of, jump around with all this, but probably a good place to start. Obviously, it's not the first place to start, is something called a seller's pre-listing lead sheet. Now, whether or not you use this form, print it out and handwrite on it, I don't know. Create your own Google form and type it in, or get them to type it in, or in some way just take notes and ask these questions, right? And you'll see hopefully why in a moment. All right, so these aren't necessarily in any particular order, but if I'm talking to somebody on the phone and they're like, I want to sell my house, I'm thinking of selling my house, I'd like you to come over and talk to me. When can you come over and talk to me? Now, my first thought is don't panic and do not hang up the phone too quickly. Right, slow down, right, breathe, right, breathe, and you're going to want to ask them some questions. For example, I don't necessarily ask them, are they working with an agent yet? I don't ask them that. I'm recording this, and my questions you'll see as we're going along, but I usually start off by asking them to describe the property. Right. And I know that I'm not following the script that I'm showing you, but there's anyhow, I would like them to describe the property, which down there is question number 10. Now, a mistake that many agents make is they assume that because they have access to the tax records, there's title companies, there's RPR, that they're going to be able to figure out how many bedrooms, bathrooms, and square foot the house is. One of the listing appointments I went on, the agent, she had done an open house and got a neighbor who wanted to sell the house and made an appointment. I had promised I would go with her on the listing appointment. The agreement was she was going to do this CMA, and I was going to get the guy to agree to the listing. So she does the CMA on a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,300 square foot house. We show up, it is a 5-bedroom, 3-bath, more like 30,000 square foot house. They had done some work, let's just say, without permits. Her CMA was worthless. right? Because it was not the house. So you want them to describe the property. You want them to tell you as much, have you made any improvements? You know, tell me something about, talk to me about your house. Why are you selling? Right? Why are you moving? Right? That because we're interested in, is there a sense of urgency in this? Or is it, well, we're retired and we were thinking it'd be nice to move, you know, to some really hot spot, right? You know, but why? Why are you moving? What are your plans? You also, and by the way, I would be doing this relatively soon. And I'll come up with my own questions. How about that? Because I mean, I'm saying them now, but the point I'm trying to make is many agents shy away from asking the potential seller what they think their house is worth. What I believe you should do is say to them, I assume you've been paying attention to what's been going on in the real estate market in your neighborhood, right? You're up on that. Great. Do you have an idea of what your house is likely to sell for? Is there a certain price you were looking for? Now, many people are just going to blurt out a number, right? They'll just say, this is it. I was on an appointment with an agent where she didn't ask, and our CMA showed, you know, 1.5, they wanted 2.5. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean we can make it worth $1 million more, but wouldn't it be nice knowing before we showed up what they were interested in selling it for? Wouldn't that be nice? Assuming our goal is to get the listing. You'll see when I do the segment on the market analysis is that if I'm given a price, it's not that difficult to make the CMA come up with that price, right? You know, I'm just saying. So we want to know if they've been paying attention to the market. What do they think the properties like to sell for? Now, when we ask them, why are they moving? One of the answers is they're going to be buying another property in some other place. Have you found that other property yet? Usually, often the answer is no, no. Do you need help finding the property in Scottsdale? And if the answer is, well, yeah, we're going to be going there and looking, how many of us are, well, our company has I have, by the way, people in my sales organization in Scottsdale. So we could refer that and maybe get a referral fee. The other thing it will tell us is whether or not they're buying up or buying down, right? In other words, are they going to have money left over? Will they have enough that they can pay all cash? Are they, you know, what's the deal? Because what we're looking for is there a certain amount of money that they expect to net. The seller, people that I've talked to have said, this is I need this much money in order to sell it. So if they're kind of hesitant on price, is there a certain amount that you're expecting to net from the sale? They give you a number. Now, by the way, do you have a loan on the property? We're going to be talking about new software applications that you have access to, whether you know it or not, that allows you to estimate the amount of equity people have, right now. It's through RPR. I've got some marketing materials on it. It's going to be next week. We're going to talk about that. But if we know how much they want to net and we know what their current liens are, we can calculate what the closing costs are going to be, and we can determine what the right price is. Does everybody understand? Before we hang up, we would like to ask them questions, right, to see if we can find out more about what's going on rather than just showing up and winging it. Are you going to be talking to other agents? Is a question. Who? Why them? How many of you talk to? Right? These are questions you might want to ask. I hear people talking. Is that you get the idea. Why them? Sometimes they're not talking to other agents. Sometimes I've had people say we're talking to 5 other agents. You're one of 6. Now, sometimes agents don't want to ask, are you talking to other agents? Because they're afraid that if the people weren't thinking about talking to other agents, and if they brought it up, then they would be thinking about talking to other agents, and they don't want to do that. But if they're going to be talking to other agents if they think so, if they're going to or not. Navi, did you have a question?
I do. So this could be a silly question, but since I'm new, so I'm asking you this. So as you mentioned that the CMA says the property or the tax paper says the property is a 3-bedroom house, the example you were giving. And when we, check with the owner, they say it's a 5-bedroom. So do we as agents, do we get into those kind of sale of properties when it's not tax paid, or can we get into any legal things?
No, so there's a lot of property in California that is being sold where improvements have been made without permits. I mean, a lot of property. And so it's not such a big deal. The worst that would happen is they would make you tear it down. Only if the second worst that could happen, which is they make you get the permits. If it's up to code already, then they just make you pay for the permits and a penalty. If it's not up to code, they make you bring it up to code and then pay for the permits and a penalty. But most of the time, nothing happens. The example I gave, the guy that did all that was a state housing inspector. He worked for the state inspecting property. And he created an Airbnb unit. An ADU, without permits. So this happens a lot. It's legal to buy property without permits. We as real estate agents aren't required to study the permits. However, the buyers can. They could, you go to the city and the planning department, they'll show you what the permits are. But it's not, there's nothing wrong as long as we don't misrepresent the property.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, and it's pretty obvious. All right. So does everybody understand the idea of being very curious and asking a lot of questions before you go on the appointment? And one of the other things that we want to determine is what the personality style is of the person we're talking to. And if you watch my videos, I go through the DISC profile, which is a personality assessment. And there's some people that are high Ds and some people that are high Cs. And the way this comes up is we're talking about putting together pre-listing information, and we might want to think about who we're presenting to. So, for example, when it comes to statistics and things like that, I've had real estate agents say, nobody cares about that. Nobody wants to read about that. It's a waste of time. And my response is, no, you don't care about that. You don't want to read about that. But that doesn't mean that nobody does, right? Certain personality styles. I'm in Silicon Valley. We got a lot of engineers. Data is good if you're an engineer. More data, better. Right, and they want to see the spreadsheets, right? So we want to find out because it's going to tailor our presentation. So does everybody realize there is a D personality, which is the high driver, right? Not necessarily as relationship oriented, but results quickly. There's the I personality, which is more sociable. There's the S personality, which is sociable, but not as aggressively so. And then there's the C personality, which is the engineer, the analytical. So the question is, which of those four would you prepare for? Assuming you know, right, for sure. Who would you prepare for? Would it be the high D, the high I, the high S, or the high C? And
The D.
What did you say?
I said the D. I had a follow-up question earlier. I didn't get a chance to ask you. I've had prospecting and people want to do investment opportunities. How do you price those? Those are very difficult I found, to figure out what a value would be for the future for a buyer.
Oh, there you are. It's Neil talking. Took me a moment.
Yes, Neil. Hi there.
Yeah, just shout it out because I don't necessarily pay attention. So the thing about an investment property, there's a software program called Valuate,
Okay.
which is connected to RPR. There's videos of me. I did a class once on how to analyze investment properties. It's on my YouTube channel.
Right,
That would be something to look at. And
okay,
Evaluate is software that's connected to RPR that will allow you to put in different parameters and come up with a investment analysis, looking at the future.
right. This is for future owners to build something. And that's what I'm finding. I had a couple like that in
Oh, so if you're talking about development,
development opportunities. I'm sorry.
that's more complicated.
Yeah, you're
So
telling me.
why don't we set up another time to talk? All right.
That sounds good. Thanks,
I
Michael.
can't do that. I can do it, but not right now. All right. So I think Neil said that if you're looking at the 4 personality styles, the one you have to prepare for is the C, which is the analytical style. And the reason for that is that's the one that you can't fake. In other words, you can't, it's more difficult to fake that you don't know what's going on. All right, that's hard to fake. All right, the other styles you can fake it. But if the D is looking for data and you got no data, then you may have trouble winning them over. Just saying that. So Brandon, I see that Brandon is here. I don't know if you wanted to say something at the beginning. What I'm going to go into next, and you could wait to where there's a section that deals with title, which there is. But what we're looking to do is to put together information that somebody could share with the listing prospect in advance, either digitally or by printing it out and taking it there old school, also known as a pre-listing packet. Did you want to wait for me to?
It's up to you.
All right, why don't we, and I'm sharing the folder again, just in case.
Okay.
Just in case. All right, so the list of questions, you already get that. We want to know particularly what they think the property is going to sell for. And yeah, I know sometimes they're going to say, I'm not going to tell you, you have to tell me, that sort of thing. There's a handout called the Powerful Pre-Listing Package. And it describes what it is. And it gives you some sample elements. And the one that I did involved using, I don't know how this is trying to show up, a folder. It doesn't really show up, does it? But anyhow, a folder that was given that I purchased from eXp Realty. All right. So it was printed out. It doesn't like that. Elements, how about this? Okay. So here's some examples of things that you might want to keep in your pre-list. Something about the company or you or team, local market statistics. If you have experience in the past, that wouldn't hurt. Step-by-step guides. You need to have a professional photograph. You should have a personal marketing strategy. It's often people have Q&As, visuals and infographics, sample marketing, sample listing agreement, contact information, and put together a presentation. And here's a little bit of information about each one. Now, what I've done is I've prepared, and this is in the folder, for those of you that are interested. Let me make this bigger. It says pre-listing packet template to customize. And I'm supposed to be looking here. All right. I don't know why it's too much. All right. So it starts with a sample letter. And this, if you want to get rid of this stuff, like, for example, your name, you want to put it here. And I know that the brackets change a little bit, but this was set up so that it could be used for an actual mail merge. If you, first of all, when you want to modify this, you go up to the top and you make a copy of the document. If you want to modify the document, then you'll be changing the document that everybody else has a copy of. So you go and you make a copy first, and then you can, you go to File, make a copy, entire presentation, so you have your own, right? But you might want to read it. If you don't like the words, change them. Things like this, which is just part of the template that I had made. If we copy that agent company and we go to edit and we go to find and replace and we paste it in and we were to type in EXP Realty, for example, and hit replace all, is everybody seeing, now address, we don't need an address, but it could be an email, it could be, you could just put your name there. I don't put addresses on stuff. Phone number, we don't need a fax number. You get the idea. This is something you can modify. And it's got, some different sections, some questions. You can look through it, right? This is the kind of thing that you could modify, print out, and put it into your package that you would give to somebody that's thinking about selling their house. In addition, what I did is I put together, where is this file open? So in the package, I had something to look like that. I had this, which is a guide that's put out every quarter from a company called Keeping Current Matters. And this again is a PowerPoint type. So you go up to file and you go to make a copy and you can change, put your picture, put your information. There's personal branding at the front and then there's branding at the end. Again, you change that, you have your own copy. And it's a nice, professionally done brochure about selling your home in today's real estate market. It is not California specific. So I included that. Now, in this folder, I also have included what the end result was. Why is this taking a while to find it? So in the marketing center, and I would do this in advance, obviously. If you go to the EXP Marketing Center and sign in and you scroll to the bottom, you're going to see a section where you can get flyers and things like that. Let me just, the EXP Marketing Center. Oh my, all right. So what we have here are listing presentations. We also mobile as well as, well, not mobile. And there's even some kits. And if we're going to click on the create your listing kit, we're going to let this pop up. So here's the challenge. If you're working with a buyer, the buyer isn't as, unless it's a complicated transaction, the buyer isn't that concerned about you because the buyer is buying a tangible thing, a house. So the buyer may not really care about how swift you are, how long you've been in the business, that sort of stuff. They like the house. If you are working with the seller doesn't get anything tangible when they list their home. What the seller gets when they sign the listing agreement is an agent's promise to provide services in the future. Right? That's all you get when you list your house. So what we're doing by putting together a pre-listing package and even ordering and getting listing kits and some of the stuff in advance is what we're bringing tangible representations of the services that we're going to tell them we're going to offer. Now, the listing presentation kit, you'll notice it's a box, and these are samples. It costs $89 and change. And if you were going, you use it more than once, right? It's something that you take with you, and it's got sample flyers, postcards, door hangers, things like that, so that you could show it to a potential seller. This is the stuff. This is the kind of stuff I do. Of course, that also means that that's the kind of stuff you're going to do, right? And that costs $89, but it looks, it's very nice. Certainly, if I were in a luxury market, or you understand, it's up to you. But if you can use it more than once. And then when you have a listing and you choose the active listing, what we're now doing is you can buy a package that contains all of that stuff, and they'll print it and ship it to you. I also believe that they will allow you to just download it yourself and make a digital copy. I'm not 100% sure of that. So that requires some investment, and it's using their particular package. Now, if you're interested in other things, first of all, under presentations, there's a listing presentation. The company presentation is like, well, recruiting. There's a mobile version. You understand why having a conversation with the seller and figuring out who they are. Because there are some people that would much rather you texted them something than you brought a folder with a bunch of stuff printed in it, right? Others wouldn't mind that you shared a Google Drive folder with them with a bunch of stuff. But let's say you want to keep it minimalist and have something that you can text to them. There is a mobile listing presentation. And if you have to go through and make sure it has your DRE number and things like that. And you can delete pages if you go to the grid view. So if you're thinking, there's nothing about me I want to say, right? Nothing about me I want to say, I got nothing to say, then you could delete that page. If you're saying, well, there's nothing about my business that I want to, you could delete that page. But you can see it covers most of the same stuff the regular listing presentations do, except you could text it to people. You might put in the organization name, it may fall that, but there are teams and things like that, put in eXp Realty. These are testimonials that other people have made, but I guess you could use them, I don't know. There's a regular listing presentation. This is a more recent version, which you can download as a PowerPoint and modify it. And then this is an older version, but some people like it. It's got a different color scheme. You can download them as well. I also have my own template, which is in this folder, which I like better, but I don't have a mobile version of it yet. That's the one I used, but we'll talk about that when we get into the actual listing presentation. Also under helpful docs, you're going to see that there are checklists, infographics. Those are the only two that I would take on an appointment. So in addition to that other stuff, I printed out the home staging checklist, two-sided. One of the most, you have to imagine that one of the things they may ask you about is, what should I do to get my home ready for sale? Does everybody understand what is it that the seller cares about? How much is it going to sell for? What commission are you going to charge? What do I have to do to get it ready? When can all of this, when? And we use software where we give people a timeline, but you might want, so home staging, you, by the way, should know home stagers. I recommended some in the business partners, but if they're in your area, you might want to read Yelp reviews. You might want to post on eXp's workplace. Does anybody know any good stagers in Irvine? You might want to at the board of realtors or whatever. You understand, you're going to need, because when they say, would you know a good stager? You better say yes, I know a good stager, right? Should you know a stager, a house cleaner, a window washer, right? People that haul junk away, landscapers. You may have heard me ranting about this, in other sessions. So that's something that I include in the packet. I also include a seller's roadmap. All of this gets customized. You put in your picture, your name, be sure to put in your DRE number. You see it looks like this. And I've got a saved version where I've changed some of that. And I printed this out and took it with me. If somebody said, well, could you go through the process with me? And I wanted to do it why using one-sided, one page, this is what I would do, right? Showing the different stages. Now, if you don't want to pay $89 to get the sample, and you don't want to use the stuff that they pre-made, even though it looks okay, what you also can do is you could make up some of your own marketing materials that you could take with you. All right, so let's say my appointment today was a condominium in San Jose. So let's say I went to the MLS, and I could do this really easily in KV Core. So I go to KV Core, and what I'm looking for, and by the way, Brandon, if you want to say stuff, if this is going on too long, just.
No, you're good. I just have a couple supplemental pieces I can share to add to the package.
All right, great, because that's you saw my list. So
Yeah.
notice under listings in KV Core, one of the choices is company listings. So these are all of the listings that are in my MLS that are from eXp Realty. So let's say I found some properties like this one here, for example, which is a little cheaper than mine, but I find this property and I know that this is an eXp listing, so I copy the MLS number. All right. I'm teaching you guys the dark arts, right? So I copy the MLS number, I don't need that. And I go to the eXp Marketing Center, and what I want to do is to show a potential seller that I have marketing materials. And so I go through and I find like, oh, I like this one, right? And usually I pick out the template based upon the number of pictures. So if my listing has a lot of nice pictures and I'm looking for one with more pictures, if it doesn't have that many nice pictures, you'll see there's different picture layouts, but we're not going to make the whole thing. Let me just pick one. So one of the choices for making this flyer is if I go up here and I paste in that MLS number and I search for it, it's going to find that listing, and I want to replace the content. So now what it's doing is it's making a for sale flyer for that listing. Is this my listing? Sort of, kind of. So legally, technically, the listings belong to the broker, right? eXp Realty of California Incorporated. That's who the listings belong to. Am I the salesperson for that listing? No. Am I marketing the listing? Well, the Department of Real Estate wouldn't care. What I'm doing is I'm making a sample flyer using a eXp listing. Right? That's all. Am I saying that this is my listing? No. But if I'm going on a listing appointment and it's a townhouse or a condominium, and I show them samples of my marketing material for properties that kind of sort of look like theirs, and then I just save this as a PDF or print it out and I include it in as marketing samples. And if you wanted to, you could make a bunch of different ones using the different templates so that you could show the owner, here are some of the templates that I use in my marketing. You can see, there's different styles and things like that. And yes, they might think that they're actually all your listings. Right, but then you learn to talk in the we rather than the me world, right? These are ours. We have listed all these properties. We being my team, that sort of thing. So you get the idea. You could, without spending too much time, find a bunch of MLS numbers and you could go through and you could make samples. At some point, it would be very useful for you if you had a sample. Like if you were on an advertising agency and you showed up, they would want to see your portfolio. They would want to see samples of marketing that you've done in the past that looks good. I'm saying as a real estate agent, you might want to do the same thing. And this could go in a pre-listing packet. You could have a section with marketing samples. Single property websites is something else. We're going to get into some other things, but you can create, this is all part of our package right now. When it comes to breaking down, what do we do in the pre-listing versus the listing package? My goal is that in the pre-listing information, to give them all of the information that is, let's just say, generic and not necessarily specific to their property. How does title and escrow work? Right, that's an example, right, of something that it wouldn't necessarily be tailored to their particular property. Most of what I've talked about so far fits into that category. At the listing appointment, you want to focus on talking to them about their property and not all this other stuff that you could have communicated sooner. So Brandon, what else do you have that you would share with somebody who's thinking of selling their house?
Well, I was thinking, bringing in a seller net sheet, right? That would be a part of it, putting that together.
What, yeah, so let me, I'm going to go into. So I did that today,
Okay,
but I did it on my phone.
Okay.
And I didn't do it in advance. And the reason that I didn't do it in advance is because I have learned that I want them to say the price, not me.
I gotcha.
It works way better. So sometimes on the phone, they say, well, no, I'm not going to tell you what I think it's worth. Right? That's why we're having you come over so you can tell us. Right? We're not going to tell you. Right? So one of the first questions I ask when I get there is, so what do you think your house is likely to sell for? And I've had people say, well, I'm not going to tell you. Remember, you're not going to get me to do it. Right? So then after we've gone through and looked at the property and I'm asking them questions, I ask them, are you looking to net a certain amount of money? And if they tell me how much they're looking to net and they tell me what their loan is, I can figure out what the sales price is. Then if they still won't buy it, they're like, no, I ain't going to do that. You're just trying to trick me. So what I would do is show them comps at 3 different price levels, among others. And then I would ask them which of these 3 they think is most compatible with theirs, and the one they pick is probably the one that they think is priced close to theirs. So if I do a net sheet in advance, it has an advantage in that I could get you to do it. I could do it myself when I had time, but then I've got to put in a number.
Yeah. I mean, you could look up comps and kind of have a general idea of, you can kind of guide the homeowner to that price point and have multiple scenarios, have multiple estimates kind of already generated. So once you get there, whether they go with this number or that number, you have them all prepared. So you just pull out that net sheet and then you have it ready.
Yeah. And I use the software.
Okay. Yeah.
Agent One. So I've already put in the address before I go. Right. I mean, I know that. I don't know the loan amount necessarily, but I know most of the other stuff. I also, by the way, on my phone, when I showed up, had Zip Forms mobile, where I had already created a listing transaction and put in the seller's information, including the email address, so that if they said, well, let's do it right now, in a few steps, I could be emailing them the listing agreement to sign. I also was logged into RPR, where I had saved the property as a saved property. And that means that I could pull and look up RPR easily while I was there. All right. But yes, so I generally don't do the net sheet in the advance, but you need to be prepared to do it when you're there. Or
Sure.
at least have some answer to that.
Would you like me to show that? How that's done?
Doing how to use that software, I think we did it, we did it before. Why don't we do that at another time?
Okay.
I
I
wouldn't
did
mind-
have just a couple pieces that maybe
Sure,
might
go
be
ahead.
helpful to include. Can I share my screen just real quick?
Absolutely.
2 seconds.
That would be-
Just need to
You're
participate.
ready, you're ready, you're ready.
Okay, so this is something that you can do on let's see, wait. You can pull up through the Chicago Title Premier Services,
Yeah,
you know, buyer seller's guide. All they would need to do is when you pull the sheet out is scan the QR code, and that can pull up some important information. It's a new piece we have. It's all digital in multiple different languages. And then we have you know, a site, if you ever need any kind of information on the process on the title and escrow side, we offer under and this is something you need to probably reach out to me if you're not set up. I can quickly do that. I just need your name and email. And so once you get into the main site, you go to quick menu and Chicago Title Library. And then from there, you go to resources and informational materials. And you just scroll down and find, you know, whatever topic you need to look up. And you got to obviously look what would relate to the seller side. But let's just say, I'm just for sake of time, let's just say closing cost checklist. Let's say you want to go with this. You just pull it up, download or you can use the information and make it your own and brand it EXP, whatever you want to do. But it's there, it's available to you. You pull it up, download it, and print it out, or just add it to your presentation. So there's endless amounts here. It just goes on, and you just go down and find what might benefit you in that presentation.
we
But
don't want to overdo it, but
right.
but they're interested in how escrow works.
Yeah.
Good.
True. Yes. That's really, I mean, unless Melissa, do you know of anything else we could include in a listing presentation? I mean, outside of what Mike has.
No, I think, like Mike said, you know, we don't want to do overkill, but you know, again, Brandon and I are always here for you if you've got an appointment, and, you know, as Mike said, you've decided what kind of seller that you're working with, and maybe they are detail oriented and they have specific questions. You can definitely reach out to Brandon and I as a resource.
Yeah. Just reach out to me and say, hey, what do you think about this? And then, you know, I'm sure I'll come up, Melissa or I probably have an idea of how to put something together. So I'm happy to help with anything you need.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
So, where did I go here? It's already here. Okay. So one of the other documents that is in the folder, which I had put together, it's part of the ongoing training program for your real estate agent, you get a listing. All right, and I'm going to make it look prettier, but the material really isn't going to change very much. And this is something that you also could share with a potential seller. So what is the process? All right, what's the process? And the first process is the first part is to have an initial consultation. Right, we're going to send them stuff in advance, but we want to have a consultation, and we're going to do a CMA. I'm going to spend some time on how to do that. We have to look at market conditions. We have to look at what the competition is. And we have to have the right pricing strategy, and we'll talk about what the 3 pricing strategies are and how they affect whether or not somebody's going to sell their property quickly. We need to discuss, is there any repairs or maintenance that needs to be done? Does it need to be painted? Are there things that need to be fixed? Does the landscaping need something? right? Can the property be cleaned and decluttered if possible? You need to discuss the concept of staging. Right, would it sell? I was asked this question today, well, if the place was vacant, you know, and I said, yes, if you moved out, took everything out, we cleaned, painted, and staged it, you would make more money. That's true. You would get more money. However, you've got to move out, get everything out, clean. I mean, you know, it's just not possible. Right, in this case. So, but that's a conversation you want to have. There's light staging and heavy staging. This is part of the process before you put it on the market. So if you see, if we're going to do repairs and maintenance, we do that before the staging, right? Before we paint and that sort of thing. After it's been staged is when we would have professional photography, videography. Right? I show people what a 3D virtual tour looks like. And when agents call me up and say, hey, my listing isn't selling, can you give me some, you know, some tips as to why not? And I look at it, and sometimes the pictures, they don't look very good. Right? Like it's, you know, the agent takes a picture of a toilet or something like that. And I mean, you know, I mean, it might be better to have professional photographs, because if people don't like the photographs on Zillow and Redfin and Realtor.com, then they're not going to ask to see the property. And video is, you know, a really good thing. Now, I've created a marketing plan, which you can modify. It's again a Google document. So you would go up to File and make a copy. If you don't like to see my name anywhere, delete it, right? Put your name, I don't care. If there's things here that you don't want to do, then delete them. Be sure to put your DRE number and all that. But that's included. We also want to get all the disclosure documents together. So the goal is to get everything done and signed and ready before we put it on the multiple listing service. Now, of the disclosures documents, there's a group of them that require that the seller think about it. Transfer disclosure statement, seller property questionnaire, fire hardening, earthquake. There's a group that they have to actually think. Then there's another group where they just basically have to sign a bunch of advisories. We want to get all of that done before we put it on the market. It would be much better if we had a property inspection and a termite inspection before we put it on the market. So we're not fighting with the buyers about repairs and credits because of repairs and giving them a way to back out. Are there any legal or financial considerations? Let's say the property has a particular type of loan, like a PACE loan, that needs to be resolved. One of my listings, there was a very old but still alive, you know, lien from child support. I mean, you don't know, right? You know, that so there's a list of things that might need to be dealt with. This is not in every transaction. You know, one of my listings said IRS liens, and you know, there are things that we might have to do legally and financially. And then these are the rest of the steps, right? And this is something that you could share, right? Because with the seller, because it goes through all the different steps, providing a little bit more information. What else did I do here? I did, that's the marketing plan. That looks very familiar. I don't think we need to do that now. Statistics. So it's now the 19th, which means that the California Association of Realtors has updated their statistical information. Did you know that? Did you know that? And there's a document called Stats and More Stats, I think that's what it's called. And if you open it up, you can see that there's, you know, different kinds of reports and things like this. That's not really the one I wanted. The one that says all shareable reports. There's different kinds. So let's say it's a listing. So I'm going to give them a seller's guide. which I included, by the way, I printed it out and put it in my, I would print it out and put it in the pre-listing package. You pick a county. You could do it for the county or for a city in the county. If it's a pre-listing, I use PDF format. And here it is. Right? And it gives you lots of metrics, nice and colorful. It can be saved either as a digital document or it can be printed out. Either of those. Now, the downside of this, first of all, the upside is it wasn't hardly any work at all, right? In order to make it. The downside is it's single family. Is it single family homes? I don't know. Is it everything? I don't know. It's not really all that clear. I believe it's probably just single family homes. If I go back to the stats and I click on another one, like, for example, I want to look at the housing market overview, right, which is a nice one, and I click on it, and I'm just going to stick with LA because it's right there. And I just want the city of Los Angeles too, and I click on that. Now you'll see that this is just going to say, oh my God, all right. Single family residences, single family homes. Not a bad looking little report. I could print it out. And there's digital versions of it. I could post it on social media. So does everybody see there's a lot of this stuff already? But you know what the problem is? My appointment was with was on a condominium. Let me see if I can find it. It was on a condominium. So let's say I'm running out of time. What I did do, however, is I printed out some stuff from the MLS, but I've got an appointment. I got to go there soon. All of the general information is not specific to condos or townhomes in my area. What am I going to do? And I also went to Altus Research, which is the link I provided. And I clicked on this. And then let's say, I'll stick with Los Angeles. That looks like Los Angeles. So what it's done is it's instantly given me an analysis. Notice a choice is condominiums. So in most areas, townhomes are a form of condominium. If you're wondering, what about townhomes? They're all lumped together, but that's probably more accurate than single family homes. So, all right, well, that's nice. How is that going to help me? Cut and paste screenshots. You go up to the top right and you click on share. Notice one of the choices is a full report PDF. The other one is a single page PDF. I actually took the single page with me because I don't know, I was in a hurry. But we'll take a look at what the full page looks like. And what it's going to do is it's going to produce a printable PDF. Look at all that. You want stuff. We got stuff, right? And I can go up and save that document. I just printed out the single page, which was just a summary. But again, if I knew that the person I was going to go talk to was an engineer, I might do the whole thing. All right. Oh, by the way, you could also post that on some social media accounts. But this is an easy way to get some statistics. But, I really want to sound like I know what I'm doing. And I really don't know what I'm doing because I'm not anywhere in that area. What else would I do? Well, one of the things we could do is go to Redfin. Now, Redfin has downloadable statistics. But what I usually do is I would simply just go to redfin.com. And let's say the listing is in, come on, Los Angeles. And what I would be doing is, once it's pulled up the 6,412 listings in Los Angeles, up here in the right, I don't want this to just go away, go away. I don't want to sign in. All right, are you happy now? See the button that says Market Insights? If I click on that button and I read it, it's going to give me some insights. Somewhat competitive. Homes receive 3 offers on average, sell around 40 days. Wouldn't you sound smart if you were saying that to people? Right, and again, you could set different home types. They allow condos and townhomes as 2 different groups. So you look at what Altos is saying, you look at what Redfin is saying, you get a sense for what's going on in the markets, you can talk about it, print some of that out so that you can show that you have market knowledge. What else? Any questions about this? Is this things to do before you go on the listing?
Hey, Mike, is Altos Research one you guys have available to your agents? It's free to access, or?
How often did you see them trying to get money out of me when I ran it? So Altus sells a subscription, which you can put on your website, but it allows you to run free reports. It does,
It's great, yeah.
You know, but it's never asked me for, it doesn't make me pay.
Okay, maybe that's, I'm thinking, because I use it all the time. I love it. It's a great resource, but maybe that was the campaigns that I ran for my clients.
Right, they have an upsell.
Okay.
This is, I think, freemium is the.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, motion, do you have your hand up? Yes,
Yes, can you hear me?
yeah.
Awesome. I just had a quick question about your perspective on overwhelming the presentation.
So what we're doing is we're providing information in advance right now that the person could go through and look at if they wanted to or not.
Okay.
We are not taking all this stuff so that we're going to explain it to them. Let's start at the beginning, you know, get comfortable. This is going to take a while. All right, that's not what we're doing.
Okay.
What we're doing is we're putting together a library of information that they could access should they want to.
Okay.
Now, depending upon who the potential client is, they will care about that to different degrees. Even somebody who personally doesn't want to read any of this stuff because they find it boring might like it that their real estate agent knows this stuff. The other thing, which the one thing you can do as a newer agent to compete against experienced agents is to have market knowledge. The more you can talk about what's going on in their market, and we were going to talk about doing CMAs and things like that later, the more likely they are to want to work with you. So for example, if you could say that right now the market in Los Angeles is slightly to the seller's advantage. Notice the other one, it was strong seller market. And to know, they expect that you know what the average days on market is, how much over list price people are getting, how many price reductions have occurred, all of this stuff over here. You would want to be able to converse with the seller and working in some of these numbers as appropriate. But we're not going to go through it with them. We're not going to test them. Now, I've had engineers that read every page. One, and if this ever happens to you, let me know, but one of my guys, both the husband and wife had PhDs in tech. This is a Silicon Valley story, and they stayed up practically all night and they went through everything and they ended up with like 80 pages of screenshots and questions. All right, that's the time to call me, all right, because to answer their questions, most people just sort of skim and look and, they don't really get into it that much. All right.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, but we're putting together, we're trying to be impressive, and I have a second agenda, which is the hope that by you going through this process, you're going to be more focused on what's going on in the market and how to analyze the market and how to explain that to somebody. Because that's all important if you have a listing appointment. All right. Any other thoughts?
No, this was very good, Mike. Thank you for, going through all of that for an hour.
Very-
Absolutely awesome.
I appreciate that. That's as opposed to all the other ones I do, which are. So next week, does everybody know what a pear is? I'm not talking about the fruit. So, no, or socks or something like that. There's a system for evaluating property that we have templates for at EXP and is connected to RPR. And so what I'm going to do next week is go through what do you do when you're trying to come up with a valuation of property. If you have one you want to bring and let me take a shot at it, you're welcome to do that. But otherwise, I'm going to explain how to do it and how to do this special equity, personal equity assessment for somebody using software that you may not even know you have. All right. And check out the workplace group. I post stuff there. I have social media posts that you can use there. Don't ignore it. All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.